Right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:30, so we're going to start. Welcome to November's meeting of Wedmore Parish Council. To begin this meeting, I must remind everyone in attendance and who will be participating in this meeting that paragraphs 33 and 35 of recent government legislation state that this meeting may be filmed, recorded, photographed or otherwise recorded. As happened at last month's meeting, tonight's meeting is being filmed and recorded by a parishioner, and I believe it will be on YouTube tomorrow. So if there's any parishioner here who is not going to participate in the meeting and who objects to being filmed and recorded, please identify yourself now so that we can find a place for you out of camera shot. Okay. And I'll also mention at this point that at the last meeting, Mr. Ribbon offered to discuss the concept of recording and filming meetings, but after consideration I decided to postpone this item until a later date, when councillors have had opportunity to study recent documentation from the government. Now, just a couple of points regarding this evening's agenda. The agenda, there are a couple of items that are confidential. We're going to be discussing contracts and terms of tender relating to the refurbishment and the cleaning of the public toilets. We're actually going to be, talking about naming people within the village, and I don't really want to broadcast things, into the public domain at this moment. And so I therefore propose to deal with these items. Really, it's item 14, 11, 10 at the end of the meeting. And I'm going to ask if the public wouldn't mind leaving at this point, and I'm going to ask Mr. Rippon if he could turn his camera off at this point. I think we have to look very closely at the rules and regulations, because I do believe you have to give 28 days notice if you're going to have a confidential item on the agenda. So, thank you, Mr. Rippon, for not filming that point. Okay, and also item number 17, there's a typo error here somewhere. I think it doesn't exist. No. We've gone from 14, 11, 15 to 14, 11, 16. So there is no number 17. So anyway, item 14, 11, 10 we're going to deal with at the end of the meeting. Right. Mike, did you want to say something?
Do we deal with 14, 11, 11 as well at the end?
Is this again?
Regarding the stoning of the scarecrow.
Are we again naming people?
Yeah.
We are naming people. You see, the legislation actually says that if we're going to name people, we have to give 28 days notice that this is going to be a confidential piece. And we haven't given them 28 days notice. So,
if not, we'll have to defer it to another meeting. So,
okay.
I know for a fact that you wouldn't want to name Blackford over the world.
Right, okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
You can.
Would it be in order for Mr. Rippon to volunteer not to film item 14, 11, 11 and 10, rather than wait 28 days and postpone the decision making for a month? Is that?
Yeah, well, what do you think of that, Mr. Rippon?
Well, we already had a discussion about the which was second the point.
Yeah, it was about the toilets. Yeah.
And we agreed, obviously, that made a lot of sense to do it privately. I have no idea what the other point is because I haven't got an agenda in front of me.
No, again,
so I can't really sort of.
No, again, it's people who have offered to. It's to do with putting the stones on the allotments. on the allotment car park and
Resurfacing
it's
the car park.
tendering for that. So again, it's local people's names.
And obviously it makes sense not to
You
not
know.
to film that, obviously.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, thank you. Right. Well, we'll work through the agenda as we go anyway. Right. Has anybody else got anything to say about that? No? Okay. So we'll start on then with item 1. Apologies.
Apologies from Rob Puddy and Edwin Ballard.
Could I add Diana Bayliss as the councillor to that, please?
Okay. And do we have any declarations of interest? No. Okay. Reports from county and district councillors. I don't see David Huxley.
Yes, he's here.
Is he here? Where's David? He's hiding at the back. David.
Yeah, sorry I was a little late, Chairman. It's a little bit more challenging getting to see you thanks to the badgers digging up the road. So I've been on roads that I haven't been on for a while. Most of them were saying they were closed, but luckily they weren't. Otherwise I might still be out there, because I didn't bring my phone either, so it didn't really help much. Anyway, I digress. You've been filmed by the ITV and the BBC today, so it's always nice to be filmed by other people as well. So yes, we have sort of, and I'm not sure it would happen in this instant, but at County Hall now we have a recording, an audio recording of our proceedings, so that if anybody decides to have any fun with the recordings, the photo recordings they make of our meetings, we have an actual factual recording, so that, because these things were very entertaining on YouTube. If you splice them, you could make anybody look quite silly. I'm not sure that would happen in this case, but it's just an idea that you may wish to consider if this is going to happen again. Rather than bore you with my usual diatribe about not having enough money to run the services of the County Council, I thought I'd sort of give you a couple of sort of rather more pertinent issues that may or may not apply to you. We're out to consultation on our bus subsidies. You should have been informed. If you were users of the bus, you should have been informed by the bus company as to which bus routes, if any, in your village are up for review. I would encourage everybody to respond if they get any adverse publicity or adverse reaction from members of the public who use the buses. I'm not personally aware of anything happening in your village, but if it does happen, we're anxious for users to apply to our consultation, which they can do online. It's pretty straightforward. It's on the County Hall website. I emphasise the word users because we do get an awful lot of people who complain about the buses, and then you ask them when they last used them, and they never used them, but they like seeing them go by. I have to say we've got down, I think when I first was responsible for the money some 5 or 6 years ago, we had bus routes that we were up to about £38 a seat in subsidy. We're now down to the £20 a seat, so we haven't made huge progress. But and the other thing that I am going to bring forward, and because I'm conscious of the fact, a little embarrassed of the fact that nowhere in any of my division is there any car sharing schemes or indeed any community transport schemes. It's all been a bit of a sort of mystery to me how these things work. And I'm lucky enough to represent a very caring sort of community and very capable parish councils. And none of them have a car sharing scheme or use the community transport. So I'm going to get all the information and I'm going to present it to you, and if you think you have a need, it's really sort of a variation on the good neighbour theme, I think. The County Council are quite keen, because we have very small communities with very few people who want to use the buses. It might be a simple case of somebody wants to go to Sainsbury's with you or go to the shop, and we would be happy to show you how to organise that professionally, and we would subsidise the cost of the fuel. So that I think that's quite positive. And secondly, we are moving ahead rapidly with our, I think very pertinent because it started raining, with our flood schemes, raising the road in Muchney 1.7 metres, employing some new, raising the road at Othery and employing, sadly having to employ floodgates on the 361, I think it is 361 across the levels to Boroughbridge, because quite a lot of people don't understand that road closed means closed. And then they complain to us because their car sort of floats away. It means road closed obviously doesn't mean them. So we're having to employ gates, physical gates, to stop them driving across the level. So big scheme, I've reported it to you before, lots of public money, and also you'll have noticed recently quite a lot of, one of the reasons I was doing lots of road closures schemes, because we are resurfacing lots of the roads. Again, the weather's closed in on us a bit, but we're doing our best. I'm quite happy to take any questions, Chairman, and if you have nothing else from me, I'll try and find another way home.
Well, thank you, but I think we do have a question.
David, I have a quick question. There's two parts needed to say.
Okay.
Solar farm, Gilmore Grove.
Yep.
The idea was that there was a planning condition that the road would be inspected before the work started, with a view to sorting out relative deterioration. David, I've got it on here, mate.
Yeah, okay. You're going to email that to me?
No, I'll give it to you.
Oh, yeah, physically give it to me.
But basically, the work seems to have started. Two questions. Has the survey been done?
Okay.
And there's a bridge over the Gilmore Green which looks in a state of disrepair. It could be that that's already been inspected, I don't know.
Okay.
But is that bridge safe? Because I'm told that local contractors aren't using it and the milk lorry's going round to avoid.
Okay.
Right. I'll give it to you, mate. Is
Thank
that
you.
right?
Yeah.
If the answer to those two questions is yes,
Right.
then you can ignore all the rest of the drivel on that thing.
Okay. My only comment on the solar farm, and I have had a couple of letters about it. I've said that you know, the road issues are always quite challenging on these solar farms. Everyone I've seen has created a huge amount of mud and damage to the highway. So that is the key area to sort of almost protest about in some ways. I mean, so this is very pertinent, and I will look into it for you. Thank you. Do you want me to reply to the parish as a whole? Or to you specifically, Nick?
I think probably to the parish, but if I don't mind.
Okay, let me find out.
The parish and
Okay. I'll reply to the parish as a whole.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. If there's nothing else, I'll wend my way. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Get home safely.
Thank you.
There's obviously no Diana. Richard.
Two items, Chairman, really. One moderately good news and one for normal gloom, the situation we're in. Mendip and Quantock areas of outstanding natural difficulty are obviously under pressure budget-wise, but I'm pleased to say that the Grants Committee at Sedgemoor has made up the shortfall so that funding continues to keep them in shape, because they are two huge assets to us. Today was the first session at exec on the budget for next year, which of course will be challenging, I think is the correct word to use, but the simple point is that Sedgemoor is going to have a £750,000 deficit to find each year for the next 4 years. So in those wonderful political words, it will mean hard choices, but I will keep you posted as to what they might or might not be at the time. Okay.
Thank you, Richard. Right, so we're on to item 4, minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of October.
Chairman.
Have we got any? Are we happy with the minutes? Are we happy to sign them? Okay. Right. So matters arising on the minutes.
Two or three things, Chairman. Disabled access to meetings. I've had some information through from SALC, a handout, a leaflet, explaining about the access, and in fact you have to be reasonable and make reasonable alterations to premises if at all possible. We haven't had a problem down here at all. as far as I'm aware. And I told Salk that when they asked me the same question. But it's quite a lengthy reading to go through, and I'll hopefully have some of the next meeting. But I don't think we need to rush it with anything at the moment at all. It's not an urgent matter. If you're happy with that, I'll move on to the next one, the cleaning of the public toilets. We had some problems down there, as you're aware. We've now had it steam cleaned following the last meeting. Vast improvement. The shops on one side are quite pleased with the change down there. There's no longer any smells drifting into their buildings. And we're going to discuss the tendering later on in the agenda. The final thing on that is rising Christmas trees. They have been ordered from our usual supplier. And will be coming here on, I think it's Friday the 5th, the Friday before the Wedmore by lamplight. So they'll be distributed in the usual place. And I think, I'm sure you want to mention something about that.
Well, really, we just very quickly need to know, on Saturday the 6th of December, that's our day that we go round and distribute the Christmas trees to the businesses. Can we just have a show of hands as to who could turn up to do this one? And Rod will write your names down. Richard. Kate. Yes. Good. That's 4. Any more hands going up? Neil. Andy. 4.
Normally I'd be really happy to participate, but I'm away that weekend, so
Right.
Me.
I am looking at you.
We generally do the big one.
You do the big ones,
Are you
don't
doing
you?
that?
Yeah.
Okay. So
What day is the lamplight?
it's on the 10th. It's on.
On the Wednesday, so we are sort of between the Saturday and the Wednesday for sure.
But they'll be arriving on the Friday afternoon.
And what time?
So can we just have it decide on a time that you're going to meet the people who are going to do the Christmas trees? Richard and Andy, what time? I mean, do you want to do it at 12 o'clock? 1 o'clock? What would suit?
Morning.
9 o'clock?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock? Okay.
Only on the Saturday.
10 o'clock, and where are you going to meet? At the church?
Church.
At the church, okay. 10 o'clock, Saturday the 6th of December.
What a clash.
Thank you. Right. Financial matters.
Madam Chair, the monthly accounts have been audited, everything's up together. And I'd like to have somebody sign the cheque, please.
I'll do it.
Is that Richard Gilbert?
I'll do it. It's famous.
Martin.
Karen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Right, now, I'm just going to make a very quick change on this agenda, straight immediately. We have Karen Dawkins with us, and she'd like to get away quite quickly. So this is 1411 item 8, to receive a report from, it says Hamilton, but welcome Karen Dawkins as a replacement parish card liaison officer. Sam, when she was with us, she distributed a report about footpaths, because she had been working with a group of people wandering around looking at footpaths, and she did a very nice spreadsheet of actions and activities, and these were circulated to all the councillors before the last meeting. And Sam has now moved, and we thank her very, very much for everything that she did. I mean, it's been quite amazing. And been wonderful. She found a replacement in Karen Dawkins. And so, welcome, Karen. I don't know if you want to say anything about the report that Sam did.
Well, I actually worked with Sam doing some of this anyway. She sort of like brought me on board to help with her a little bit. So I'm a little bit aware of what work she did anyway. So it was just sort of a natural. She just sort of said, "Do you want to take this on?" And I thought, actually, yeah, I can do that. So yeah, it's not sort of different to what I'm doing anyway, because I go out with secretaries, I cut things back, I email her or text her when I find a broken gate or whatever. So yeah.
I
can do. So.
Well, thank you very much for taking
That's
on.
right.
Is there anything that you want to tell us or add to this? Or
No, I don't think so. I mean, obviously I will take on the spreadsheet thing as well and do the same thing because I think that works quite well. I think that's a good way of doing it, isn't it? Obviously take photos as well if there's a problem.
Yeah, you've got my email address as well, Karen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. What I was going to ask, do you actually speak to some of the farmers direct when you have a problem, or I didn't know how much of a liaison you have with the regular farmers.
Madam Chairman, could I
please,
possibly
Richard,
help?
yes.
I'm just wondering if you've got a tie-up with Chris East, County Footpaths Officer, at all, or is this a...
Yes, I think Sam's...
Because it would be very wise to contact him
yes, because I know Sam's given... Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that, but I
he's
didn't know...
quite a big chap.
Yeah, I believe Sam sort of... But I know quite a lot of the farm from my area, and so I've just...
Have you got an email address, Karen?
For me?
And then I can pass that on to Chris East.
You're keeping the same one, aren't we? The Wedmore Footpaths, isn't it?
I think it is, isn't it? Yeah.
I can let you have that later.
Okay.
Do you want to fill this?
Oh, your signature, don't you?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask Karen while she's here?
Karen, I think Sam was building up a note of people who are willing to walk footpaths fairly regularly and report back to her.
Yes.
And has she passed that on?
She has sent me various emails. I haven't looked at all of them yet, but what it would be nice to have is actually a list of areas that people are going to walk for me, because I can't do them all. I can obviously do some, but I can't do all of them. But it would be a good idea to continue what Sam initially wanted to do, was
People in the area who are regularly walking
network,
for
yeah,
pleasure or their dogs or whatever, would
definitely.
report back to you.
Madam Chairman, do we know, this is really wonderful, Rob, have you come across any old copies of Six Walks in Wedmore, a little colour A5?
No, get on the web.
Was it on the web?
It is on the web.
I've got a booklet which is walks around Wedmore.
I've got another it was our coffee put it together.
Got it printed out.
It's a good place to start.
What was that called?
It's called Walks Around
If
Wedmore.
we
is
go
it?
back
That's why
about 8 or 10 years,
Okay.
Six Walks around Wedmore.
I've got a copy in the office.
Well, the thing is just...
Oh, you've got a copy of that? I was going to say, I've got a copy of it.
I've got an unused copy.
Well done.
Put it on eBay for mint.
Yeah.
Well, any help that we can give Karen?
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Yeah, that'd be quite handy, because I'm not from around Wedmore at all. I've only lived here about 4 years. So.
Okay, well, I have you into writing, or better contact you.
Yeah, okay.
So if anybody's got anything that they can do to help Karen, that would be wonderful. And we hope that you'll come back and see us perhaps in the spring
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
tell us how you're getting on. And
Yes.
meanwhile, we will keep in touch.
We will.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very
Sorry,
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, perhaps we can now just go back one to 14.11.7. It's to receive an update from the Chair of the Housing Committee on Affordable Housing Schemes and to consider any recommendations from the committee. Before I ask Martin to give us an update, I'd just like to say that we had planned to hold a meeting of the Housing Committee immediately after a planning meeting on the 5th of November. And at this housing meeting, I said that we would respond to the 3 presentations that were given at the October Parish Council meeting. But after arranging that meeting, the clerk then received a further letter from Mr. Monson, who was one of the gentlemen doing the presentations. And this lengthy letter made allegations and accusations against the parish council, the district council, and against individual councillors. And so, having received that letter, it was therefore decided that the parish council really needed to consider their reply, taking into account these allegations and the accusations that were in the letter. And so the housing meeting that we did have planned for 8 p.m. on the 5th of November was cancelled, and a notification was sent to the parishioners who delivered their presentations. Okay. Right, Martin, so after that, do you have any update for us?
Not really. We're just seeking some more advice on it, and the planning application has been deferred to the 30th of December. I think it's the 30th, isn't it, Richard?
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's still going on. Okay.
Is there any update on the highways issue?
I think that's what they're still talking about. They haven't got it. It takes a bit longer than what they thought. They thought it was going to be a 5-minute job, but it's more detail and more writing and bits and pieces. So that's as far as we've got.
Thank you, Martin.
Okay.
Right,
Give
now
the lady
then,
space.
we're on to 14.11, item 9. To receive information from Mrs. Becky Dickwell about the academy status at Wedmore Parish Council. Well, I'd like to welcome Jackie to this meeting. I mean, being a governor at Sexy School, I feel we've got quite a good connection with what goes on in the middle school and that phase of education. But we seem to be missing a link with Wedmore Academy at the moment. So it's really good of you to come along and spare a bit of time to come and see us.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. I do recognise a few faces, and I could do. I'm going to turn my talk round and first of say, has anyone got any questions? Because I could sit here for 10 minutes and give you a lot of information, but it might not be what you want to hear. I'm going to turn my talk round and say, has anybody got a question? Don't please give your answer. Someone must have a question.
I can start for 10.
Go on then, Richard.
I see you've got a planning application in to replace those horrible prefab classrooms.
We have no money though.
Oh, there's the thing.
Okay. We put in
Official visit.
we put in 2 applications to the DFE for funding, and they are claiming that our Elliott buildings, which we are trying to replace, are actually in good condition, are not falling apart. We currently have doors falling out of the wood because it's also rotten. The roof is leaking, you have to keep on patching it. We know you were doing that when you were a governor, I think, Richard. So they're not in a good condition, but it's a question of arguing. I've even been up to London to see David Laws. Tessa's been trying to help me with this. We are desperately in need of permanent built classrooms. How many of you are aware of when the Victorian school was replaced with that in the 1990s?
Yes.
And at that time, I think the local authority thought the school would decline in size and would have perhaps about 90 children. We currently have 220, plus about nearly 40 in the nurseries. We're talking about 260 children. We just don't have the space or the buildings for those children. It's not adequate for the 21st education. It's really very, very unsuitable. But it is a long, hard slog, because I think in a priority list, our school comes quite a long way down. A lot of other schools all over the country, lots of school buildings have been neglected. But I think it's a great shame that at the time the school was built, the local authority made a vague promise that in a few years' time they would build some more classrooms. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And unfortunately that hasn't been upheld, hasn't been honoured.
When it was being built, we even complained about it. We didn't want to pass the plans over it.
It was never built.
No.
We've recently, we've had, by raising money ourselves, and when Mel was on our governing body, Mel Johnson, we did actually raise sufficient money to build a kitchen, because the kitchen we had was totally inadequate. We now run that as a business, and that actually does help us to fund the lunchtime care for the children. So the school runs that as a separate business, and we have this September taking on supplying meals for another school as well. So our kitchen cooks on average about 220 meals a day, which is quite a difference. When I first went there, it was cooking about 80, and now it's doing 220. Of course, the universal free school meals make quite a lot of difference with that. I've got 100% take up on that, so every single child is entitled to a meal paid for by the government is having it. And that's why we're also supplying Mark's school with meals. That's working out really well. So that's quite an interesting question. Come on, somebody else.
I think perhaps
this is much better than my meal. My talk.
I think some people, I mean, I don't know about the knowledge around this table, but some people sort of assume that, school buildings and maintaining school buildings, that is to do with the local authority.
No.
But now that you've become an academy, it's completely different. So just want to sort of outline what's happened.
We have the buildings and the land on a 125-year lease. I'm sure none of us are going to be here to see that, are we, unfortunately? So yeah, we do have it leased at 125 years. We have a proportion of our budget which is included in the money we get from DFE, which allows us to maintain the buildings. But ultimately, the buildings will revert to the local authority at some later stage. Whether it will carry on as being an academy or whether a political party will change what happens with that, I can't say. But at the moment, the buildings are operated by the school and we're responsible for their maintenance. We obviously set aside in the budget money to do that.
But really you need to have more money to build your classrooms and things like that.
We need about £1 million to do the building we actually need to the school.
How do you go about getting that kind of money?
Well, we can look at various grants. We can get small amounts, sort of 10 or 20,000 relatively easily. It's getting a large amount that has to come from the DFE, and that's a case of putting a presentation together, trying to answer every single one of their criteria. I'm sure you're all familiar with doing this kind of grant forms and then submitting it. The last one we had, it came back to say that our buildings were not in a worse condition than some other buildings, and that's why they had to do that. I think it's going to become quite a serious issue for the community because the school's very popular. I know that some of you might feel that children come to the school from outside Wedmore, but that doesn't mean the school can actually is very stable, it is very sustainable, it can keep going, so you have to have those people coming in. But about 80% of the population live within the Wedmore Parish boundary, including Blackford and Theale. It is very popular. People like Mr. Ennis's children were there, I know. So they enjoy coming. But in the long term, the community are going to find that there's a problem with the buildings.
Would it be possible to build this in phases?
Yes, it
as
is.
As and when you get to
at the moment, I've got £10,000 towards.
Doesn't get very far.
That's going to get a bit of a foundation, I think, and not much else. We've just spent nearly £12,000 repairing the roof.
That's what I was going to say.
We've had to repair the roof. That was very expensive, but it had to be completely, all the tiles taken off and completely refiltered. That was just age. And the fact that I think that the building materials that we used in the first place to build the school were not actually very good quality, and so they actually deteriorated and we had to replace them.
Would you suggest to you, Madam Chairman, that as an academy status, that is a disadvantage of not being, because you then would not be responsible for the upkeep of the building?
No, I do not think it's a disadvantage. I had to fight for money from the local authority more than I had to do from DFE, and at least now within my budget I have a certain amount of money to spend on buildings, whereas before I didn't.
Right.
Because what happened before is I had to pay a certain amount of money annually into a big local authority kitty, and then they decided on what was mending. I might not even see my money to go to pay another school. Okay, so as an academy, I got that money in my budget to actually spend on the school so I could repair the roof.
But it's not enough.
It's not enough. I need about £1 million. We need to build, you'll see in the planning commission, I think it's four permanent classrooms to replace 4 of the temporary buildings, some of which have been there already as the school's built. We also want to replace the rather tatty accommodation that the nursery, the old Wedmore preschool has got, we've got a barn, I think, that was converted, I don't know exactly when, I'm sorry about that. There was a barn that was on the site that was converted, perhaps Mrs. Hing knows when that was as well. We want to turn that into 4 classrooms, to have a 2-classroom nursery and 2 for the first year at school as a unit. We can then provide education from the age of 2 for the people of Wedmore. At the moment, that is only in quite costly private facilities, whereas we believe as a school we could perhaps do that just as cost and not making money. Obviously, we have to cover our costs, don't we? But what we want to do is make sure that everybody in Wedmore has access to a reasonably priced early years education for 2-year-olds, and that they can afford and that's good quality. At the moment, it's hard to deliver that in the building that's there. But that plus the 4 classrooms is nearly £1 million.
Quite a challenge.
Quite a challenge.
Any more questions for Jackie? Have you got anything that you're...
I think perhaps that there's probably lots of queries about why we became an academy, and perhaps if I just mention a few things about why we did it. I think that the local authority, as far as education, is in fact imploding. Most of the people who are advisors have left. There's no service being maintained. There's a very sketchy advisory service for special needs, but not very much. So mostly it's disappearing. So you haven't got anything there to rely upon anyway. But also because I think that it had got to the point where the local authorities were losing a local bias. And I think it's important for schools and the people that run the school to be able to make sure they're running the school and spending the money for the local need and not for some established need that's been found in Froome or Yeovil or somewhere else. And Wedmore's needs are very different to priorities they might have in other more urban areas. I think that we've also been able to retain skilled staff. Sometimes budgets would be cut because you went from 215 to 213 children. You'd lose vast amounts of budget and you'd have to lose a teacher. Whereas now we can keep a core staff that is trained as we want them to work, and that's really good. The governors wanted to be far more independent. They wanted to make their own decisions, and as an academy we can do that. And I think in the long term, why I've come along tonight is because I think that people in the community need to be a lot more involved. They need to be a lot more proactive in saying what the school needs to deliver for the children of this community, and not leave it for people like me to decide. It actually needs to come from the people who live in the community. Obviously parents are going to say some of the things, but actually, there's something else that needs to be done. The involvement we had with Tim Morman's project on the First and Second World War in Wedmore, but children need to know more about the area in which they're living, and that can only come from you, really. Yes, the people in Wedmore wanted buildings, and everybody got up in arms and contacted people, and there was lots of effort on that part. I am sure to get those buildings. Whereas when it's just me sort of bleeping away, it's not necessarily successful. So we need your support.
Okay.
And that's probably about my 10 minutes, isn't it?
Well,
I shall talk forever.
I'm sure you will have the parish council support when you build it.
Please do come and see. If anyone wants to come and look, please just give this office a ring and come and have a look. Or come and hear some children read or play games with them or whatever you might like to do. It's great fun.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Right.
Am I okay if I listen to the bit about... you've done the housing bit, haven't you?
We've done the housing bit.
Yes, in that case, as your commission, I will withdraw.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Very kind of you. Right, well, we'll just move on to number 12 then.
Madam Chairman, this goes back to July when we discussed the recycling centre at the playing fields up on the Blackford Road. And you'll remember then perhaps that we had a request that those bins be removed from the playing fields and placed somewhere else or taken away entirely. And they were looking for our support, and in fact the decision was taken we wouldn't support the move, and I wrote to the committee accordingly. And I've had a message on the 4th of November from Pete Brown, and I'll just read it, it's only a few lines. The subject of the recycling centre was discussed at last night's meeting of the Playfield Management Committee. I read the meeting, the letters that were sent to the Green Group and the Parish Council and their responses. The meeting felt the facility was being used largely for commercial waste and that the facility generated a lot of mess and never effectively cleared up. With effective doorstep collections of recyclable waste, the centre had now outlived its original purpose. All of those present at the meeting who chose to vote voted in favour of its removal. I will therefore be contacting Colin Mercer at the Somerset Waste Partnership to set a programme for its complete removal. My point in writing to you is, if the Parish Council wish the facility or certain elements, noting the Green Group's desire to keep the Tetra Pak bin, to be relocated to a PC-owned site, then they should be involved in the discussions with the Waste Disposal Company and Central District Council. From Pete Brown.
So, really, I mean, we don't own the land that the recycling bins are situated on. If we want to keep them, we would have to put them on our car park.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what do you think? I mean, they're obviously going to move them, whether we like it or not. They're going to keep the Tetra Pak.
Which is the drinks cartons, because it's non-recyclable. The plastic drinks cartons.
And I think one of their arguments, because I was at that meeting and I didn't vote, but this weekend representing ourselves, is that there are facilities at Cheddar and Highbridge as well. For Everton, Bar, etc.
They're part-time facilities though, aren't they?
Well, for different days. Different days of the week.
What do you think about it, William?
Well, I went late out, I went to the meeting and I didn't vote either. Obviously, they own the land. They voted to remove it. It's a Tetra Pak, so it's clearly going to go. It's really whether, like I said, the only place we've got is basically the car park. But do we want to move it to the car park now? That's obviously a matter for this council to decide upon.
No, I'd advise that as they do currently at the playing fields, if we do move it to our car park, it will need cleaning up afterwards.
Madam Chairman, what we've got to remember is that we don't own the road going out on the Cheddar Road. That belongs to the Homes area. And the agreement was that we use it as a car park. So we need to be a bit careful there on what we put in there and what we take out there.
Madam Chairman, if we put it in our car park, I don't think it will be used. I don't think people will drive down there. Where it is up there, the mums, I've been up there when the schools are going in the morning and that, and the mums go there and put the paper and that in. If we take it to the car park, I don't think they'll drive down there to do it, only the few that come in along of what I call our road. I mean, I would be all in favour if we could get an agreement to put it in the car park where the almshouses, but I don't think it will be used. And I mean, we are in there at least once or twice a week, and last time was the only time I had seen glass on the floor. And I go most weeks there, and there was glass on the floor. We tried to brush it up, but it was so fine, you couldn't get it all up. And I can understand with children there why they don't want glass there.
I mean, I understand that people come from Highbridge and Burnham with loads of cardboard to dump in our recycling bins and dispose.
Yeah, I think that's a habit at one time checking the bins. I noticed that habit now. And they were full of what I would call commercial cardboard. And I traced one load which filled, I think, 5 or 6 of the bins to a store in Highbridge. Because there is again a cost to a commercial organisation to dispose of waste.
Oh, Madam Chairman, perhaps we should sort of leave it for 6 months, let them move it, and then see what the prisoners do want it to come back, and then we'll have to look at putting it somewhere. But if people are going to start using Cheddar and Highbridge, then there's no need to put one up and just make a mess for someone else to clear up that you're going to pay for, is it?
Particularly with,
Well,
I mean, we have
cost
weekly
of-
collections
Yeah,
on the
no.
roadside
Yeah.
now, yeah, so is there a local need if they're going to give the Tetra Pak disposal? Shame they're not going to, shame there's a clothing bank up there as well, isn't there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's a shame for that to go, but I don't know how well used it is. But if there's a facility, if there is, you know, the roadside collections are quite effective, aren't they, for the glass, cardboard, and domestic, but, you know, tins and stuff.
Well, is that a proposal? Shall we go with
I'll propose that.
Second that.
Chair, can I just ask, has this been published in the Wedmore News or generally? Do the inhabitants of Wedmore generally know?
Well, it's not come from us, it's come from the playing fields.
Shouldn't that be ventilated anyhow, whatever we decide? That this has been decided, this is going to happen, what the village feel about it?
If we went down that road, it's a lead time till January, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. But it's going to happen.
Good expansion, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
They made the decision to get rid of these bins.
It's not down to us. We could review it in 6 months.
Could we not take Alison's lead and sort of say, well, it's going to happen, we're going to give it 6 months now, you need your feedback if you want something else done?
If everyone thinks it's perfectly adequate to drive a 6-mile round trip to Cheddar and back and ecologically sound because they have something regularly dumped, fine.
Well, we'll let them close it, and we can put something in the paper. Martin's proposed it, somebody seconded it, Lindsay seconded it, and put something in the Isle of Wedmore News to see how it goes, and we'll review it in 6 months' time.
Maybe if we do, Madam Chairman, put anything in the Isle of Wedmore News, it should be made clear it's not our decision to review.
Yeah.
Pity we couldn't get the papers management, pity put something in the Isle of Wedmore News about it. They could
Yeah,
give their view.
we could ask them to do that.
I will do it.
Right, thank you.
But just a reminder that if it does have, you know, if one's going to put it in, the Isle of Wedmore News can be effectively 2 months.
Yes.
It needs to go in by the end of this month, by the 1st of December, to get it in January, that's not in December. You know, that need...
I've already wished them all happy Christmas.
Well, we'll discuss it with the Keith Frank. Right, 14, 11, 13. To consider replacing 3 benches.
Yeah, this is dragged on for a couple of meetings now, Madam Chairman. Following the Isle of Wedmore News article and asking for sponsorship, I've had 4 people who come up and said, yes, we'd love to buy some benches replace the ones which are damaged, and put a plate on them in memory of so-and-so, and I've got the names of the people who are quite happy to do this, the 3 grand. I've got another one coming tonight, so it'll be 4 now, but we need 3. And John Bethel is going to make some galvanised ones with wood slats. And I think one of the donors wants a wooden one. I'll probably go suggest that she gets her own and we'll place it and replace it with those. Easier. But John Beth's going to make some metal ones for us. They're about, the price now, I think it's about 1,000 each, I think. No, it's £1,000 altogether. 3 for a thing. Yeah, sorry. About 3 for a thing.
So that you've got 4 residents now that want to...
Yeah, we've got 4 on it. Well, we only needed 3.
So you could auction them.
Yeah, John Bell's just over £1,000 on 3 benches.
Okay. Right, so the 4th resident, what are we going to say?
Well, I don't know, I haven't spoken to him.
Right.
Find another location.
Find somewhere to site the bench,
Yeah,
not just... Okay, the next one is 14. To consider replacing 3 windows at the council.
Yeah, we deferred this from the last meeting, Madam Chairman. I had one quoted at the time for replacing these 2 windows here and the one in my office, and I've got a second quote in now, courtesy of Councillor Kilburn, I'm grateful. The second quote is slightly more expensive than the first one, none of them miles apart. Generally it's £275 per window, and the other chap's quoting £320 per window. So there's £50 in it. One is from Paul Tripp Installations in Western Supermare, and the other chap comes from Street. They're both identical, they're both the same specs, so it's...
So it's like cheap.
I was going for the cheapest one, if we're going to do it.
Are councillors happy that we just go with
It
2?
probably won't be till after New Year.
Are you happy with 2?
I can't find really anybody to do a small job like that. If you want a conservatory, they'll bite your hands off, but to come and do 3 windows like this, nobody's really that interested, but it'll probably be in the New Year when we get it done.
Well, do we have a proposer?
I'll propose that we do it, because somebody's going to hit their heads from it.
Yeah.
And we're going with the cheapest quote.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
And the next one is just a sort of a show of hands. At the last meeting I asked about the Parish Council dinner. We all pay for ourselves and our husband or wife or partner. No cost to the parishioners at all. But do we want to have our annual Parish Council dinner in April?
Yeah.
Who's going to come? Because I'm not going to go and organise it if only 6 people turn up. So, who's coming? You and I. Well, it'll be sometime towards the end of April, usually is.
It depends where it is.
Oh, yes, we'll be on.
Oh, well, I'll make it a venue that everybody likes.
How about a curry?
A curry?
No.
All I need to know tonight is it worth my going around and asking and finding someone that we could help with? Yeah?
Madam Chairman, can I just throw a comment for discussion? Possibly, could it be along the lines of something like a buffet? Because everyone gets stuck at a certain table with certain people, whereas possibly, a bit of a discussion, they might be interested in moving around and talking to more people.
I like that idea.
Yeah, okay. I'll go look
Can I say, can we not have it as a sit down and each course you move on to someone? That's what we do in other functions. Progressive one.
I'll go and find some details for another day. Thank you.
That's all right.
Right.
You won't come with me.
Okay, no, well, we will find the
I don't mind as long as it's apart.
I will go and find some venues and arrangements and I'll tell you what we're doing. Okay. Right, 14, 11, 16, issues and questions raised by councillors. Oh, lots of people got. Jeff?
I wish somebody would write a letter, I think the Parish Council should, to the gentleman that arranged the First World War, the village hall, because I thought it was brilliant.
Yes, it was.
I agree.
Yes.
Splendid.
Yes.
Pleasure to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was mine as well.
Sorry,
Okay, right, okay, that's done, that was mine as well. Anybody else?
Could I just elaborate on that? I did speak to Tim the other day, because I had some things I wanted to discuss with him. He said he had just over 1,100 people go through the door.
Very good.
As far away as Kent come, because they had connections with Wedmore, so he's very happy. And also he said to thank the parish for the council for his grant. He was very happy with that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Turn around the table.
Yeah, following the nasty accident up on the Moseley Road the other night, or a couple of weeks ago rather, has there been any recommendations from the police? Was there been a cause or what's going to be done with, that's probably the 5th accident along there in the last 3 months?
I've no correspondence or communication at all, Madam Chairman, with the police or anybody else. I only know about it because I saw the signs out up there, I passed the elements.
Perhaps it's worth actually contacting the police and seeing if there is anything they can do up there, whether it's sort of signage or whether it's the road surface or what it is.
Well, running back into Wedmore on the corner opposite Alan Wilcox's there, if the gate's open on that corner and it's pitch black, there's no street lighting, it looks as if the road continues. The chevron on that corner would certainly highlight the corner.
Can I suggest, Madam Chair, if we're going to do anything about that, it ought to be the police and county highways?
Should be, County highway.
Yes.
Can we chase that up?
Yes, I think they should both be.
Do you want me to do that? Do you want
Could
me
you
to
do
decide?
it?
Well, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, yeah, we'll have to.
Yeah,
We'll do something.
Thank you.
Well, you write it one, not
All right, you post it.
Right, working around the table. Any more questions?
Yeah, sorry, just for info, we did talk before summer about the website.
Yes.
And I haven't forgotten about it. Okay, we will get it done. It's we've just been a bit short time recently, but I haven't forgotten that we'll get it done.
It is something that we decided
Yeah, it
back
will get
in
done.
May that we would have a new website. So we will work around that. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a parishioner on to me. He said there used to be a road sign at the bottom of Billings Hill,
Yeah.
up here, pointing away to Glastonbury, and wondered what had happened to it.
Madam Chair, was hit by a lorry.
I thought it had been,
Yeah.
but were there any plans to replace it?
I have reported it twice now to Sedgemoor Highways people, and they say it's on their list, but it's nothing been done about it. It's only just a little direction
Yeah, I
out.
know. It helps to get the traffic.
I will report it again.
Perhaps we could put it the same.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, as David Huxtable said, like they're recording their meetings, I think that we should record ours as well.
Yeah.
I think we should get some equipment in there.
Yeah, I talked to a leading member of Mendip, and they were saying that their recommendation is to their councils within their district that they should record their own meetings for their own records of things that happen.
Okay.
Because it was instantaneous. The last recording was on YouTube nearly the next day. I had someone ring from Norway and someone from Canada. It just happened we had relations, and he said he couldn't believe it. But I mean, my grandson brought it up on the Friday following the meeting on his mobile. And you know, if that can be used for those, they can be distorted. I don't mean by the people here, but they can be further on. I think we should at least investigate what it would take to put a permanent, when I say permanent, to make arrangements that our meetings should be recorded. And I don't know if there's anything in the, I'm surprised really that the legislation, from what I can make of it, doesn't suggest something like that. It doesn't suggest that parishes or councils should record. But that's the thing, because if something comes up in a dispute, and it's been cut or edited, this is what he was saying to me, then you really need to have a recording of your own.
Need a record.
For a record.
Yes, I take your point. I mean, it went on YouTube. It wasn't edited, and I've had lots of positive comments.
Yes.
So, but I do take your point, and yes, I mean, I think perhaps we
Perhaps we look at some costings. I mean, even a dictaphone or something.
Yeah.
You don't need to sort of go.
No.
Microphones and things.
The drainage board, we only have a tiny little one,
Well, that's
put on
right.
the table and everything's on.
It's probably sort of
Been for
buying
years
colours.
like that.
I'll investigate the costings and see what we can.
Yeah, just one thing. At the last meeting, following the last meeting, I did have a gentleman come to see me. He was very concerned about his. The question had come up about his vehicles, Land Rovers, being parked around the village and on a piece of land, and there was a question as to whether the gentleman owned this piece of land, and we left the clerk to chase it up to see if he did. And as I thought previously, the gentleman does own the land that the Land Rovers are parked on. Okay.
Yeah, I did speak, Madam Chairman, to my predecessor about this when he came in the office a fortnight ago, and he recalled it straight away. He said, yes, it was all discussed previously, and the gentleman come in with documentation, and he was perfectly satisfied that he owned it. So I didn't bother pursuing it any further.
So, as far as I'm concerned, the gentleman does own the land, and you know. Okay. Right. So, correspondence. We've got some correspondence here, and was there more correspondence on the list?
Anybody wants to see it? There's not a massive amount of correspondence.
Okay.
If I get emails, I can send them circulate them right away.
Can I just ask?
Yes.
For you, Madam Chairman, what's the allotments seminar?
Oh, this is a one-day, I think we missed it, it was outside before the meeting. It was a one-day management course on allotments being held through Selk. It was for, mainly for clerks, I think, who took the responsibilities on it, but it was last week.
I happen to be, well, we did as a family, or Margaret and I were contacted by Fowler Fortescue Rural Vision that they have allotments in Blackford. They asked if anyone wished to have them. If not, they would be returned to agricultural use. It's where the old football pitch used to be, just above lemon tree and teas. As the lane goes down to the village hall, it was there on the left, and it used to be Mr. Atkinson, who tragically took his own life. It was Cecil Methuen and Roz. And Denby Brown had allotments there behind what was a pavilion which held at least 9 people. The pavilion, and it was. But I imagine that what they're doing in a way, and Margaret and I have put up a couple of notices in Blackford, and they wanted to know if anyone was interested. But my real point is that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, it's
is there seems to be. There's not a huge grab for allotments.
You've got 5, Madam Chairman,
that's what we did say to Rebecca Kimber.
When I first started, they were going like,
that's right.
You couldn't get it out.
They found it as our bird.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's a crude thing to say, but it is.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Madam Chairman, the item G on the supplementary sheet, Mr. Penny asking for a new street lamp.
Oh yes.
Perhaps we could have a comment.
Yes, I was going to bring it up under my bit for the next meeting.
All right.
Can we defer that for later on then?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Committee reports. This is just for information. Anything on the cemetery committee?
Well, when we had our last meeting at the end of October, it was suggested that we contact the Wedmore Parish Council whether they'd like to donate us a tree, as the one they previously donated had no life in it. Yes, I tried being more polite. And they have wanted to contact them, and they have agreed to donate another tree. I have to be honest, that whatever it is they donated, I've never heard of it, but it's going to be a native tree that...
It's a Latin tree.
Yeah.
It's a very long name.
So they are donating a tree, which I think, in light of all the donations we've given them over the years.
That's good, thank you. Facilities, allotments and footpaths?
Just on the allotments, during the hedges being in for, well, it's been arranged for a recap.
Oh, good. The Japanese knotweed that was around the allotments a couple of years ago, does that still exist, does it?
That's slightly
Get it treated every year.
Yeah.
It's still being treated?
Still being treated every year. It's only one little patch.
No, yeah.
Finance and general purposes?
Meeting on the 3rd of December at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
It's a Wednesday.
Yes, couldn't go much.
Right, housing, I think we've covered. Highways, car park and brook.
Can I ask, this roadworks that's going down along Cheddar Road, the Borough of Cheddar Road, please can we ensure that they have traffic lights there? Especially as they're going right up to the corner of the village hall. There's going to be somebody killed. Yesterday, I was coming along there quite quietly on my own, and suddenly one come round Church Street with me almost touched. They just can't see. When they're there working, you cannot see what's coming along Cheddar Road.
No, it's just suddenly appeared.
Yeah, we didn't even know what was
Can I
happening.
just ask, do we know what it is?
No. It was just a trench. I walked past it last night. It was a trench being done.
Anybody can come into our village and...
Well,
keeping up with statutory process.
I'm just worried because I understand from the painting on the road they're going right through to check.
I'll ring the highways tomorrow. Well, I've got to talk to the highways tomorrow
Yeah.
anyway, so I'll mention that as well.
Because I mean, it's when they come to that village hall corner.
Yes, I know.
Madam Chairman, still waiting for a Blackford Brook to be cleaned.
Oh, yes.
That is getting bad now because the leaves is in there. I've only had that heavy storm the other week. It was well over a foot deep there.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, we as a Highways Committee had a meeting with the people who are supposed to clear the drains with Sedgemoor well over a month ago now, and we showed them lots of photographs down by the village hall, down at Blackford, all around the village. As far as I can see, when I checked the other day, only the bit of the Lurburn has actually been done. So perhaps we could ask if they will actually hurry and do what they said that they would do at that meeting.
Madam Chair, I did have the opportunity today to have a quick word in Sedgemoor about Blackford Brook. Actually. It's only half now, so I was told it's been put on the contractor's list to clear it in Twin. And I said, well, when's that going to happen? Well, when he's got work in the area. So I wondered whether if Clerk could perhaps contact Richard Dunn, D-U-double-N, and just say, you understand it's on a list. When?
Yeah.
Just keep the ball rolling.
When they came to the meeting, they said it was on their maintenance schedule. They said they was going to send you a maintenance schedule, but they didn't. It's getting the time of year now we're going to get a lot of rain. One of the commissioners in Blackford's taken photographs, sent it to Sedgemoor in an email, and sent it to his insurance company, stating that if he gets flooded again, then he's going to tell his insurance company to sue Sedgemoor District Council because of what was like. And the gullies need cleaning out again. Now, we got Lawrence a bit last time, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And did we claim off the council?
Yeah, we didn't get anything back from them.
Well, they're all blocked again, leaves and money, all sorts.
We'd have issues. I can't. I'm not going to that here.
Well, perhaps we want to get on to Sedgemoor and ask them to sort of clean them out. Or highways.
It's their responsibility.
Yeah, it needs doing now for those getting bad again.
I mean, and it's not just Blackford and Brook. I mean, I'm concerned about the middle of Wedmore because that some bit.
I've had correspondence this week about it, and I was going to put on the agenda. I'll put on the agenda for the next meeting anyway.
But while we're sort of chatting about it, it might be worth thinking about that from a...
We were told we were going to get this schedule, so is it worth prodding to get that anyway?
I'll speak to Richard Dunn tomorrow and see.
But I mean,
if it exists.
I think this needs to go on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah.
But I am concerned about, you know, sort of round by the Swan there and bits of Blackford.
They used to clean, do the brook out around about September time.
Always September.
Just before like October, there was always doing it. It used to be twice a year. They let it slip to once a year, and they like, I can see what they're doing, they're trying not to do it at all if they get away with it. But
that's not really good enough.
no, because that water's starting to build up.
Yeah.
And you know, you only want a good downpour to soothe it up.
I will do what I can tomorrow with Richard.
But I mean, I mean, you said that Lawrence did something. I mean, do you think that on an interim basis, because obviously this is going to be discussed at the next parish council meeting, that will be December, we could have masses of rain between now and then. I mean, could we ask that the village handyman, whoever that is, takes a look at some of these things? I mean, I know it's Highway's job, but I really think that, you know, I mean, John, my husband John, I mean, he was lifting up manholes when we had the last lot of rain to sort of stop his mother's house getting flooded and the cottage gallery, you know, and we can't sort of rely on this. So I think if we could get the village handyman, whoever it might be, to go and look at the sump if we're going to have rain and after rain to make sure it's flowing, and also these gullies that you were talking about.
Yeah, and you need to look along the Blackford to Wedmore Road where it floods. I cleared up a couple of the drains there when we was moving cows the other morning. They was just covered in leaves and mud. I just scraped off the tops of them. They go all the way back to Wedmore, so there's quite a few along there. Yeah, it just goes
It's a
on.
matter for you yourself, not for me.
Yeah, it is. I think the ones on West End.
It costs a lot of money for us.
Yeah. I think we ought to get on to Sedgemoor and tell them it needs doing. Or David Huxford, it's highways. You know.
We've got to do something.
Yeah, because
I mean, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
That's concerning, Madam Chairman.
But
If anybody got hit by a lorry or something out there, who's not been properly trained up for that sort of work, even though he's not an employee of us, we would have some responsibility. We would have to go and do the work. That's what concerns me. But I just put that throw it in his work.
perhaps Ron will just phone up highways and Sedgemoor District Council and see what they can get up and do. Because they're pretty quick to send the gully stuff out, aren't they? If you've got a blocked drain, so they might.
I thought I remember David Huxtable saying that there was extra money this year to prevent flooding, to take action. So therefore there should be no excuse why it's not been done.
No, perhaps talk with David again, see what happens.
And it's on the agenda for the next
It is,
meeting.
Madam
We'll see what we can do in between. Okay. Right, where have we got to? Planning.
When was it?
3rd of December, the same night as the finance, 7:30.
Okay. Reports from representatives on committees. The Isle of Wedmore News. Yes, we had a meeting since the last Parish Council meeting, and the bank balance is quite healthy, all is going well. They were selecting some organisations to receive donations. So, yeah, Isle of Wedmore News is doing fine. Play areas?
There's some issues, Madam Chairman, at Blackford at the moment. Our village orderly's been round and had a look, done some inspections there, and I've told the newly formed committee what needs doing. It's just minor maintenance work, really. They've got a bit of an issue at the moment. They've just formed this new committee. I'm a signature on the bank, along with 4 others, I think it is, and the bank have gone and lost the signature. This is cheddar since they've done their NatWest refurbishment in there. So they're going to start the whole process again. Meanwhile, they've got some bills coming in. I know one's for £1,000, I think, for chipping, not chipping, so what do you call it? Wood chip. Yeah. And I had a discussion with Martin Cale about this as well. I think it would be a good gesture if I told the girl on the phone yesterday that perhaps we could sub them at the moment and we will get the money back. They've got money in their account, it's just that we can't get access to it. So if we do get the bills come in, then we will pay the bills temporarily and then claim the money back from them. I hope that will be satisfactory. We're not paying for it, it's their responsibility. But they've got quite a large bank account.
Okay. It's just getting their hands on the money at the moment, that's all. So.
Well, the council are audited, so I don't see a problem.
No, I think it's an issue, really.
Thank you.
Salt? Anything on salt?
No, the Sedgemoor area meeting will be towards the end of January next year. Probably at Woollavington. Whoever wants wishes to come.
Wedmore Parish Fields Management? Anything there?
You go, Ash, if you were saying yeah, you go on.
William and I attended on the 3rd of November, the last meeting of this year. To give you a flavour of the meeting, the school has now resolved to contribute towards the maintenance of the car park at Blackford. The projects, the tennis project, the courts, the new courts, should be completed, so we're told, by the end of November. There is still the tennis clubhouse to do. For that, they're currently something like 15,000 short of their target. So don't be too surprised if we get another request coming their way. Meanwhile, they will put up a temporary porta cabin in the car park and the cove. And by doing that, they can release their current space for the multi-use games area, the mugger, which can be begun at the beginning of December and should be ready by the beginning of next year. The cricket club's plans are sorted, which obviously the parish council made a contribution towards. The mugger, as I said, same there. So probably all of the projects for the clubs will have been finished by the beginning of next year. Then the tennis club house should be in there by March, April. That, and again, bear in mind, I was talking about 15,000, the total project for the tennis club was about 300,000. So they've raised a hell of a lot of money. So that leaves the new clubhouse for the site in total. And that's estimated at about £750,000. There is a need for it because currently there are some, on the weekends, 6 girls football teams, they share one toilet. The shower facilities are totally inadequate, etc. So Peter Brown, who, as you all know, comes here and puts out the begging bowl, does a fine job. He has identified so far 26 sources for grants on that pavilion. So again, when they take a deep breath, probably about spring next year, they may well start on that project. Meanwhile, for this year, the Sunset Playing Fields Association have awarded the Wedmore Playing Fields a bronze for Playing Field of the Year 2014. So well done, mate. You're disappointed about the bronze.
Good. Anything on village halls? Wedmore?
The new chairs have arrived. Committee wishes to thank the council for purchase of those. And they are quite heavy. There are some issues with the dollies under the stage now, pulling those in and out. It's quite hard work. The toilet refurbishment is scheduled to start on the 19th of January and will continue until, we hope, the 26th of February, as there is an event on the 27th. In the meantime, the disabled toilet, we hope, will be available. That's the main news. I think that project to do the toilets will take the funds down to the reserve limit of £6,000. So following the toilet refurbishment, the village hall committee finances will need careful management.
Okay. Thank you. Anything on Blackford Village Hall?
It's the AGM, Madam Chairman, on Thursday. I don't think there's anything particular to report other than that is the AGM is on this Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yes.
What time?
7:30. Because it's usually followed by a general meeting. AGM is, the first half an hour, and then yeah.
That's a week tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything on Theale Village Hall? No.
Week tomorrow night.
Right.
Right. 14, 11, 20.
Tomorrow. This Thursday.
Tomorrow. Yes, we're just still fighting.
Let's do arguing about it. Okay, we move on. Matters of report and items for next meeting. No, I don't think I've got anything.
Got a couple of things, Madam Chair. We've discussed the flood prevention scheme. I'll put that on there. I've also had a letter in from a chap called, I don't know his name, he lives up on the Mudgley Road. Not as far out as where the accident was. I think it's the last house virtually, that's past Adge's place, where the footpath goes in the field there. Asking if we could put a street light up there. So he said a lot of people walk down there and down Mutton Lane. I referred him to Somerset County Council, the lighting department down there, where we always have done in the past, and they wrote back to me and said they no longer fit new lamps. All they are responsible now is maintaining the old ones. And if any new street lamps are to be fitted, it's a parish council expense. And they're quite happy to give me a quote. And they gave me a quote, they said between £1,500 and £5,000 depending on how much groundwork is needed. So I've gone back to Mr Penny, explained this to him, and I said, I think in the current climate, I don't think the parish council would be willing to put a street lamp up there, but if you and a group of residents want to get together and write in against the council, well, sure, it will be considered. And left it like that, and I haven't heard back from him yet anyway, so
Is this the corner of London Lane and Mill Lane?
Yeah, a bit further round, where the neighbourhood of Wedmore is.
Oh, yeah.
There's a new, he has pointed out there's a new telegraph pole which we put in there. He said it'd be easy to put a lamp on it, but it's not as easy as that, it's certainly not as cheap as that. So
any of the people that actually walk there in the dark without a torch ask for a light?
No, I just have one letter in there, so this is why I've gone back to...
There is one, obviously, a bit further along in Supplementary Road. Yeah.
I'll put it on for the next meeting. And
Yeah.
if there's any...
I'll see if there's any further correspondence from you.
We seem to have a number of streetlights in the village that aren't switched on.
No.
Well, if you tell me what they are, I'll give you the number. I've got a number, and they're very good. I'll bring them up, and they'll come out usually within a week.
Okay.
Councillor Kilburn is very well versed on it. There's a state up there, it gets well looked after. Yeah, just give me the number off the poll, and I'll do the rest.
Now I've got matters and report matters for the next meeting from members. Jess?
Thank you.
Pete, have you got anything? Alison, Richard?
No, I've got nothing to report, Madam Chairman, but I thought that there was a very good turnout at the Remembrance Day Sunday service for the Parish Council.
Yeah.
And actually I thought it was a very good turnout altogether.
Yeah.
I've never seen so many people.
Amazing. Yeah.
I've never seen churches so full as
Well,
that.
some of the youth, you know, the guides and so on, the leaders were sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
And in fact, the clerk and his wife had to
Stand
stand.
for the whole duration.
I'm not worried about it.
But apart from that, no, I have nothing to report.
Well, thank you for reading the lesson, Alison.
Very nice.
And thank everybody for coming. Thank you very much. Neil, have you got anything that you want to say? Anything?
No.
Andy?
No.
No, okay. Now we've got these two little items that we can. If Mr. Evan wouldn't mind filling his camera off, but okay. Thank you.